Thanks a lot for the introduction, also for the opportunity to speak here. And I want to present research that was mainly conducted in the Excellence Cluster PhenoRob, which is about robotics and phenotyping for sustainable crop production. And yeah, so crops are so essential to our society. We need agriculture to produce the food we eat, as well as feed and renewable materials. We, as a society, cannot sustain without producing crops in sufficient quantity. Crop production nowadays faces serious challenges. For example, first, we need to increase the yield and reduce the yield gap to feed our growing world population. Second, we have a biodiversity decline. This is often caused by our agricultural activity. And third, we have a high pesticide use, and we need to decrease this and the impact on our ecosystem. So in short, yield gap, biodiversity decline, and high pesticide use. Therefore, we urgently need fundamentally new methods that tackle these challenges. We need holistic methods that address the yield gap and the yield stability, that reduce agrochemical use and produce more sustainably, and that enhance biodiversity and ecosystem services. We cannot address one of these challenges alone in an isolated way because they are interrelated. That's why in Bonn and in Jülich, where most of the research in PhenoRob happens, we bring together scientists from different disciplines. We have engineers, we have computer scientists, we have agronomists, and people from economy. And we tackle these challenges together jointly. And this presentation focuses on the vision of designing and managing sustainable cropping systems supported by novel technology, and this leads to a more sustainable production with positive environmental and economic impacts. And when I speak about core technologies, I mean robotics, mobile sensing, machine learning, and modeling. And I will give you a few examples and explain this a bit more, where these core technologies actually change the crop production. So first, the robots can treat each plant individually instead of spraying the whole field uniformly. This will reduce the agrochemical use and also reduce the impact on our ecosystem. Then mobile sensing systems. They help us to derive traits, assess the performance of the crops, and also identify stresses. And here we aim for an in-field phenotyping at scale. And if you're not familiar with the term phenotyping, this is just a combination of genotypes and the environmental factors, easily speaking, the appearance of the plant. When I speak about a trait, it means it's just a characteristic or feature of a plant. So the third point is that future robots will enable new cropping systems that combine high yield and diversification. Diversification is when you combine different crops in the field in different arrangements. But these arrangements and you have different possibilities of this diversification, and we need models that are able to forecast the different crop diversification systems and simulate the performance in these systems, and also define hypotheses that which cropping system work best and which ones do not. And the last point is that new field arrangements can inherently support biodiversity and ecosystem services. And we know that agriculture can have positive and negative impacts, but we can analyze them. We have possibilities to study this. And also, agriculture is a highly regulated domain, so we also need to study the policy design so that we are able to make this impact reality. And I will focus on 4 research areas, mainly on the first 3. The first one is advanced technology for crop production. Second is understanding and predicting crop performance and stress responses. Then I will talk about design and managing sustainable cropping systems. And the last one is the impacts on society. Okay, let's focus on the first one, advanced technology for crop production. So over the last 6-7 years, we developed several robots in the field. And these robots serve for different tasks, and they are equipped with different sensors. They are equipped with different cameras, with laser scanners and positioning systems, so that we are able to locate very precisely the robots in the field. For example, we have a real-time kinematic GNSS system, so that every data we capture in the field can be also combined with other data that is collected in the field, for example, weather data. And one typical task is in-field reconstruction, here, for example, from multiple images. And our aim is to derive or to get a new generation of mapping systems and a better understanding about the spatial temporal dynamics of the structure and functional plant traits. So this is not just a 3D reconstruction, but also the 3D reconstruction of the growing plants over time. And a really nice example of this detailed in-field reconstruction is this work, Permuto SDF. This is a method that is able to derive a 3D surface model from multi-view RGB images. And it uses permutohedral lattices, a specific representation, for efficient high-dimensional feature encoding. And with this, you are able to have a fast optimization and also detailed reconstruction and a very easy interpolation in these high-dimensional spaces. Another task which is very commonly used is the plant and organ level segmentation from images. So what you can see here is a segmentation of the plants into crop, wheat, and soil. And over the last few years, we developed several deep neural networks that are able to deal with the specific challenges we deal with or when we deal with plants. These are, for example, thin structures like the stem. We need a high generalization ability. It's even a problem going from one field to the next or going from one season to the next season. And then we have a limited training data, especially with experimental data, we have a problem. And we have overlapping instances. So here, for example, you see these are sugar beet plants, and it's a very challenging task to identify the single plant. And this is exactly what the next work deals with. And here we have a multitask network, an encoder-decoder structure with 2 decoders. So what is happening here is you have an input image, and from this image, the encoder learns a complex but a very compact representation. And this is passed through the first encoder. The first encoder learns a semantic segmentation into crop, wheat, and soil. Of course, you can also define other classes, whatever you need for your task. The second decoder deals with determining the instances. And how is this done? This is done by estimating offset vectors, and all these offset vectors for each pixel point towards the associated plant centroid. And based on these offset vectors, you can learn a spatial embedding. And you can already see from this spatial embedding, if you use a clustering algorithm, you can identify the single instances. And if you now combine these clustering results with the semantics, you can come up with such a nice image where all the single instances, that means the single plants, are identified. And this is from one data set collected in Bonn from a sugar beet field, and you can see here the single. So each leaf is correctly associated with the right plant, and this gets even more obvious if you look at the data set from Göttingen, where the plants really are overlapping. But here we are able to identify the plants. And why is this useful, especially for the semantic segmentation? This algorithm we used for laser weeding. So here is, you can see a robot. There are a lot of cameras, and then there's a laser shooting and killing the weeds. The next step will be not just killing blindly all the weeds, because some might not harm the yield, and you can just let it grow. but this is the current status, and this is a startup that was established from Finorob. Okay, so moving from the field to the side view in the vineyard. So another task was yield estimation. And counting berries in the vineyard is a good indicator for the yield. Yield estimation is important, for example, for breeding, and also you need to, or the quality, or you need to know how much the yield is, because the quality will at some point decrease for the wine, and then you might have a loss in your profit. And what works best for us was actually redefining an instance segmentation task into a semantic segmentation task by introducing an additional class berry contour besides the class berry and besides the class background. So none of these instance segmentation networks worked for us with all these small, tiny objects in the images. And you can see here on the left where we compared the number of detected berries with the reference berries. This works quite well. So one dot is one image. So we took the effort to count the berries in each of these dot images. But what was counted here was only the berries you can see. But what the actual situation is this. So you have a lot of leaves that cover up some berries, so the yield estimation will be wrong. And this is a problem. So what we did is we developed an algorithm, a generative model, that is able to generate a scene without leaves. And for this, we used generative adversarial networks. I mean, you can also use diffusion models, but this was what was there when we started this work. And this generator is able to turn this image of occluded berries into an image with non-occluded berries. We use an image-to-image translation network, and as you can see here, you have a generator and a discriminator. The discriminator has access to the image of the occluded berries, so the input image, and then to the generated image or the training data, and then it decides if it's generated or real. And speaking of the training data, I already mentioned this, our challenge was learn the model with limited amount of training data. So what did we do? So first of all, we went to the vineyard, or not me, but colleagues, and they collected pairs of images. So they had these images with occlusion, and then they cut away the leaves, and they took again images, and they were aligned. That was already very tedious work. Then we added synthetic images by using non-occluded or images with non-occluded berries, and then we pasted in, cut out leaves from other images. So we increased the amount of training data we have by a lot. In our first experiments, we realized that color will not help. It was just increase the computation time, so we used only grayscale images. And then, because we are just interested in the amount of berries in an image, we used our berry detection algorithm, and we added this mask also as additional layer to the images. So we had grayscale image and the berry mask. So we had a lot of these paired images, and we trained our generator, our berry gun model, and this is one result. So on the left, you can see the input images. Here you have a huge leaf covering up the berries. In the middle is the real scene. And it's important to mention, we do not aim to recover exact the real scene, because that's not necessary. We just want to have a likely scenario, because we want to have a better estimate of the yield. And in the generated image, you can see that where the leaf was, the algorithm generated new berries, but the most important part is the upper one, the lower one, where we have a new berry mass, and here we could count the berries. If we do this for a lot of images, you can see on the left, that was our old algorithm, what I presented before. So we compared the prediction and the reference, and you can see there's always an underestimation So again, one dot is one image. We always have an underestimation. And if we do this with the generated images, we get a better estimate and a shift towards the better results. You might now think, oh, just apply a factor, but I can tell it doesn't work. It's okay, but it's not that good. And even if you think of, you have different varieties and different scenes, so only a factor will not help. So moving on to a different scale, we also developed or built a lot of UAVs. And we had different UAVs, for example, very big ones that were able to carry a lot of load, like big sensors, laser scanners, multispectral, hyperspectral cameras, and so on. But also we had smaller UAVs that were quite flexible.
UAV-based multi-sensor platform where we are able to assess
okay, that was the thank you.
Thermal data, and 3D
not
data.
intentionally. So we also had smaller drones that were able to fly on a lower altitude and also take better images or closer images of the plants. Okay, and one project where we used UAVs and machine learning was the optimization of cauliflower cultivation. So the intention was here, or the goal was here, to observe the development of cauliflower plants and especially the point where it can be harvested, or that you can say it can be harvested in next 1 or 2 days. What is currently done is farmers or agriculture advisors go to the field and they go into the plant, because it's not like the cauliflower you know from the supermarkets. Actually, the whole head is covered up with leaves. So they go into the plant and they check if the plant is nearly of the same size of the head, and then it's ready for harvest. And then they extrapolate. They just do spot checks. The problem is that you have an irregular development, as you can see here. So these plants were actually planted at the same day. So this is not a good solution. So what we did is we did a lot of UAV overflights. We geo-reference our data. You can see here the ground control points so that we can geo-reference the data over time. And then we learned a deep neural network at an early growth stage to identify where plants are. And then we had the position, and then we can track the plants over time. And then you get such nice time series data. So here's this neural network that we use for detection. That's a very easy one, but it works quite well. And that at some point we trained another neural network that identifies if the cauliflower head is ready for harvest or not. If we could achieve an accuracy of the 73%, you might say, nah, that's not so high, but right, but the farmer said it's not possible at all. So we were quite happy with our first results. But the interesting part is now we ask ourselves, can we improve the result? And more specifically, is the decision based on the right reasons? We all use these black box models. I heard it was already a topic yesterday. And we want to know, did the network do the right thing? And can we even use it to improve the model? And we use different tools from the explainable machine learning area, and I want to present one here we used a lot, but this one worked quite well. It's gradient-weighted class activation maps. I want to briefly show you how it works because it's not really complicated, but it's a really nice algorithm. So what you have here is you have a trained convolutional neural network, and you feed the image into the network, and you use the activation maps in the last convolutional layer because there you have the most complex features. And then in the next step, you use the class-specific gradient of the score for class C. So you use the score right before the softmax function, so the raw score. And you use this gradient with respect to the feature maps of a convolutional layer. So this is the gradient term in this equation. And then you perform a global average pooling. And this is nothing else than a weight. So you have a weight of activation maps. Then you perform ReLO, which is nothing else than cutting away all the negative values because you only want to have the positive impact. And you increase it to the same size as the image. And what you get is a saliency map that looks like this here. So here the saliency maps is overlaid over the image. And the red parts indicate what is important in the image for the network decision, and blue is what is not so important. And remember how we designed our data set. So each of the plant was in the middle of the image. So we already know the important parts in the middle, so the network should use the same information. And we did this for a lot of images, and then we used spectral clustering, which is a nonlinear clustering algorithm, and we derived these cluster centers. And you can already see that a lot of cluster centers, there the important part is in the middle, but for example, the first cluster, it is not. And then for further analysis, we connected this to the accuracy. So, because here we have the training data, we have our data set, we can check and analyze it more deeply. And in red you can see the 8 clusters and the accuracy. Red indicates these are wrong classifications and blue are correct classifications. And what is obvious is that in cluster 1, most of the heat maps are associated with the wrong classifications. And why is this useful now? When you have a test image, even if the network tells you with a high accuracy or with a high softmax value that it's a specific class, but or it's ready for harvest, but the heat map falls into cluster 1, you should be careful. For our specific application, we could actually switch the label, and with this we could increase our accuracy from 73 to 85%, but this is for the specific application. In the end, what you can do is you change the label to undecided, and the farmer should have a more closer look. So this helps to analyze the decisions and what you actually do with your networks a little bit more closely, and increase also the trust. So moving on a little bit in the same direction, we have time series analysis, and we had time series, not on us. We had time series and a lot of overflies. And this is work. You need a pilot, and the pilots, they do not always have time. It's raining and so on. And we were interested, can we reduce this effort? So which time points are important, and can we just reduce it to the important ones? And to analyze which were the important ones, we used Shapley values. I do not want to go into detail and the equations, but Shapley values originate from game theory. In game theory, you have players in a collision. That means they play together, they play a game, and in the end, you have an overall payout. If you transfer this now to machine learning, you have a set of images or a set of features, and you have a prediction task, and you have an output in the end. And what you want to do is you want to have an assignment of a payout to each player. That means each image, because each image is from a specific overflight date, based on the contribution with mean prediction being the reference. The reference for a classification task is guessing. So in the end, what you determine with the Shapley values is how much does each image for a specific overflight date contribute to deviating from this guessing. And if it does not do anything away from the guessing, it's not necessary to do it, to have it. And we did this. Oh, now it happens also with me. I will tell you what is in the plot. On the left side first, you can see the network which we use. So we had this time series images. And first we did a spatial encoding to encode the information in the images, and then we had a temporal encoding. The temporal encoding is really important because we had fixed time series, but the time points were not equidistant, and also they start from a different point or different time point. So we really need to give the network the information when the image was acquired, so which overflight date it is. And in the end, it's decided if it's ready for harvest or not. What is in the image is you can see the summary of the group SHAP values. Group SHAP because normally Shapley values are only computed for pixels or features, but we want to know for a whole image how important it is. So we grouped all the Shapley values together for all the pixels. And what you can see is there the group SHAP values for the whole data set for specific overflight dates. And for overflight day 50, the Shapley values are close to 0, so they're actually not contributing anything to the classification. So you just can remove it. And we tested this, and this is now an interesting result, we think. What you can see here is that the overall accuracy and the balanced class accuracy for different time series constellations and also length. So in yellow is what I showed you first. So when you only take one specific image for classification, you decide if this image, is this cauliflower in the image ready for harvest or not. In blue is when you start on the first day and you add every time point after each other. And you can see a drop in the accuracy at some point. And this, we assume that the network is confused and it will not help for the classification. And it means adding more data will not give you a better result, not necessarily. And with the gray line, this is when we add only the most contributing points in time, overflight dates. And you can see you can get the best accuracy with it. But even if you, again, add everything, it will decrease again. So it's really, think about which data you use. Okay, so that was the first part. The second part is about understanding and predicting crop performance. And here, I want to emphasize why is it so necessary to have interdisciplinary work. What we did here is we had a multispectral drone overflights, and we learned a machine learning model, a deep neural network, to identify disease spots on the plants. And some of these diseases were 2 millimeters. So really, it's a really detailed plant disease monitoring. And then based on this, you can come up with such a distribution map about the disease incidence. And then you need expert knowledge about the disease spread. And so based on this distribution map, then you think about where should I apply the agrochemicals. And then you send out a drone, a spraying UAV, and this drone goes exactly to the spots where the agrochemicals should be applied, and then it sprays. And in this way, we could reduce the amount of agrochemicals by a lot. Okay, so let's talk about the third part, the design and manage sustainable systems. And here, crop diversification is a big topic. So how to combine actually different crops in these cropping systems. And we gained a lot of international visibilities by having such infrastructure. Some of these infrastructures you can find at the Leibniz Zentrum for Agrarlandforschung close to Berlin. And what they do there, they have the strip intercropping, relay intercropping, patch cropping with larger crops, and this monocropping, how you know it. And this helps us to study the influential factors to this, to the yield, for example, and also how these crops interact with each other. We sow in rows. We have actually equipment for doing this. Oh, it says 2 minutes left. I planned with 45 minutes. Is this okay to have a few minutes more? Okay. Okay, but we combine these infrastructures with software, modeling software, and we developed Simplace. I do not want to go into detail, but one drawback of these process-based models is that you have a known relationship. You need to know what goes in and what goes out. And this can be sometimes too easy, and sometimes the input parameters you cannot measure, or they are not even known. So what we tried is we tested generative models, and if they can do something similar with the crop diversification, and can we generate plants, or can we generate how plants will develop in the future and at specific points in time. And we use for this the generative adversarial networks. And you can see here again the generator and the discriminator. And normally the generator has an input, a noise image or a noise vector. The problem is this does not really work for us. We need specific conditions, and we do not only aim for a nice looking image. The conditions we want to apply is, for example, we want to have an image from an earlier point in time, so not an arbitrary plant. We want to generate an image from a specific point in time, so not arbitrary. And also we want to condition on specific factors of influence. That means specific environmental factors. And as data, we used our mixed cropping experiment from Campus Klein-Altendorf, which is close to Bonn. And here we have different varieties of faba bean and spring wheat. This is a huge experiment, and we have different mixtures, different constellations, autophotos over time, and further information. This further information is the cultivation system. So we have monoculture and mixtures of faba bean and spring wheat. We have different varieties. We change the seeding density, and also we have the time, that means the day after seeding. And then we also added information from a process-based model. So we used the Simplace modeling framework to generate from specific input factors what the biomass is. And this helped us, for example, to stabilize the training of the generative model. So how did we now learn this, or how did we include these conditions? So we had all these conditions at an early growth stage. We embedded it and used it as conditional batch normalization in the encoder. We did the same for a later growth stage. And here we changed the day after seeding and also the biomass. And with this, you can see that you can, if you change, for example, the biomass, if I go back and forth, you can see also the image will change. And we can do more experiments with it. So this is, for example, we have a mixture of Annabelle and Mallory with low seeding density from an early and a late growth stage. And this is the reference. If you do the prediction with our generative model, you can see it's reasonable. It shows similar plant traits. That's good. But you can also play around now. You can, for example, say, OK, I want a different variety. Also, you can have a high seeding density, and this is, for example, obvious if you look in the first row, the upper row, you can see that the density of the spring wheat especially increases. Or you can change to monoculture. And you might now say, yeah, this is not really relevant for real-world experiments. You're right, but this is, but it already shows that with such generative models, we are able to develop software besides process-based models to help agriculture researchers, for example, to study crop diversification and to come up with promising hypotheses that can be tested later in the field. Okay, so to sum up, so this is the last point. I will not go into detail. It's just about the impact of biodiversity and ecosystem services and also society and also technology adoption. We should not forget about this. And to sum up, these novel sustainable cropping systems I mentioned, they have all the characteristics that I spoke about in the beginning. So they allow field arrangement adapted to landscape. They reduce the yield gap and the stabilized yield. They require fewer agrochemicals, and they support biodiversity and ecosystem services. So they inherently already include all the aspects about the biodiversity and these socioeconomic aspects. And my take-home message from this talk for you is the future of sustainable crop production can be the design and manage of sustainable cropping systems supported by novel technology. And this leads to sustainable production with positive environmental economic impacts. And this transformation is urgently needed, and our ecosystem cannot wait. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ribana. That's all right. That's not 45 minutes, but this is good because it leaves us time for some questions, and I'm sure there are many. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey.
Thank you so much for a very nice talk. I have some questions, but first of all, about the Berry GANs, you mentioned that you showed some results that I saw that the image after masking is much different. I mean, the shape of the bird looks a little bit different to the ground truth or the input image.
Yes.
Have you done any pre-processing before masking, like some morphological techniques, like erosion, dilution?
I can tell you, we tested so many things. We did not. You mean here, this one?
Yes. Yeah.
So we did some pre-processing, but not so much. We tested a lot, I remember, but it was in the end, I mean, we were aiming for these round, or this, the berry contour here in gray, and everything what is inside is one berry, and we just want to count. In the end, it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit larger or smaller. This would be the next step, also to have a look at the size, but here we only aim for the number.
And have you tried the model for different fruits? Like, the question is that how generalized is the model? Because I see that you are training your model by just the berry, not the leaf and the background. And what happens if we change the fruits?
Okay, so we also work with apples and tomatoes and bell pepper and everything what is round, strawberries, a little bit. But nowadays, these instant segmentation algorithms are much better, so we switched to it. That was just back then, none of this instant algorithm did work for this number of objects in the image.
Okay, the last question, and very shortly.
I would move because there are more people queuing up. I'm sorry, but out of fairness, we have time afterwards, I guess.
Hi, Ribana. Thank you very much for your talk.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding this generative adversarial model that you conditioned sort of on prior time steps, one of the last things that you showed. I know the noise space is massive, but have you tried essentially walking this noise space to a sufficiently large degree to see how many of sort of the generated images are sort of kind of valid and how much of this is degenerate?
Actually, when we looked at this space, it was interesting. You can clearly see a trajectory through the space. That was interesting. And everything around it was not really good looking. It was had artifacts. It wasn't just an image. So you can clearly see a nice manifold in it. My PhD student refused to have a closer look into it. I thought it would have been interesting, but he said, no, I need to write up.
All right, thank you very much.
So yes, but it would be, if you're interested, it's a nice task.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think this is a very, very valiant goal that you're pursuing here. I was actually also wondering about the berries. Have you tried StarDist? It's a model that's used by biologists to segment nuclei, which are also like, and it's specifically focused on these star-convex round shapes.
Yes, no, we did not, because the work was, I think, from 2019. I don't know when this work was.
It's a bit older than that, but around that time. I think it's...
Actually, every time we look into algorithms, we go first to the medical imaging domain, because most of the algorithms that work there work also for plants. That was interesting insight. Maybe we had a look, but no. But this is actually one, segmenting cells, it's very, very similar task. Maybe we tested, I cannot remember.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Hi, thank you for this great talk. Now you have this generative model that can generate images of strip cropping, and you also looked at determining the harvest point. What you didn't answer, but what's kind of the immediate next step is, can you do the yield predictions made from your generated images match with the strip cropping predictions?
Yes.
From real world data?
Yes, actually, yes, I did not say this. The problem is always how to evaluate our models, and we do this by downstream tasks, and one of the downstream tasks is the biomass or the yield. Yield is, you need to be a bit careful. Let's talk about biomass, and it is very close to what we actually had in the field, so that was very accurate.
Thank you.
Sorry, I mean, thanks for this wonderful talk. I just have a similar question in terms of those berries. So actually there are, occluded berries, and then you, cut out the leaves. So in that, in that time period, some of the berries might fall off, or also the leaves, because of the leaves, now that they are cut, the position of the berries would change. How do you, that is really, so therefore it is really challenging to collect this data. How do you, go about, addressing this issue?
Sorry, what was
Sorry, how do you go about addressing this issue when there is a change in the position of the berries? Also, some of the berries might fall off. So how did you go about it?
That's why we stopped at some point also to align these images before and after, because when you cut it away, it will deform. We did not address this. We just said, okay, the model needs to deal with this. We have always noisy annotations, noisy images. This is daily business. We do not have nice, noise-free,
But cool, thanks.
label-free data. Yeah.
We have one more question. Sorry.
Thanks, Ribana. This was really, really interesting. Very nice to see sort of active robots doing stuff. And you need to explain if the laser was actually really killing the plants.
We also have some what is it, a stamp, like a pipe, and stamping into the, that's even better than the laser.
I want that laser point in particular, but no. I'm wondering, so you said you sort of go to the health domain in terms of imaging applications, and I can see that, like, we often then go to computer vision general, like segmentation. One thing we often see is that, we have in vivo and then in vitro data. We have some sort of lab condition type of thing, like a mimic of a human brain, which sort of grows in addition. So we learn some stuff there because we can model and measure much more. Then you can sort of go to the real world situation. I could imagine in your case the same. There's these plants growing like Arabidopsis or whatever, right, in labs. Is there something you can export and then go to your field?
This is something, so luckily PhenoRob now goes into the second phase. So we have another 7 years of research, and there we go also a little bit more in the other direction, so back to the lab. So our goal in the first phase was always to be in the field. And not so much in the,
Just be
in
realistic,
the lab.
basically.
But now, because also we have new professorships that are in breeding and in genotyping, and they care about the genes, so we go back a little bit in the lab, and then we can see this is one goal, what can we transfer and how can we transfer our insight from the lab to the field.
So one thing for us is this co-embedding, and let's say even a foundational representation of what in your case I guess a plant is, right? Are people starting to map these things in latent space or whatever? Of cauliflower?
Not yet. No, I would not say. I mean, no. Maybe some researchers. We are more than 100 researchers in this excellence lesson. Maybe we started there, but not a work that I'm aware of.